Okay, my name is Julian Morris, Channel 5 News. I have a question for Mr. Badwell. Well, basically, I'm just trying to find out, Mr. Badwell, whether I know at earlier press briefing you mentioned concerns about the issue of people who might have had stuff on the port prior to, to the hurricane, perhaps vehicles and otherwise, to get those things cleared out, as quickly as possible. Is that still an issue, Mr. Badwell, or has that been pretty much cleared up?
Well, what I need to say is that some persons have reported and cleared their vehicles. One of the things that we've done to facilitate the whole process is the question of excess storage charges, which was applicable on some of these vehicles, had to be set aside because some people had problems with their documentation and they could not. Some of the offices that they had to go to was not in operation, so we had to make some decisions in relation to that. But a number of persons showed up. I want to also say that last week Saturday we had our first vehicle ship coming in with 54 vehicles into Dominica because there were some concerns by the importers as to when vehicle ships would be allowed back into Dominica, and we're happy to report that we were able to get one of these ships back in, and I'm told within the next 2 weeks we should have another vehicle carrier back into Dominica. So we're in fact making some progress. But I would like to point out to those persons, especially when they receive cargo, please try to get in touch with your shipping agent because some of the persons have only come back this week. Some of these persons have only come back this week into operation, and we'd really like them to move the cargo at a much faster pace going through the system, especially the new cargo coming in.
Past the Woodbridge Bay port, it looks like to say that you have a space crisis there is like an understatement. What is it like in there? Is it pretty challenging moving around? You have quite a few containers.
What you have is that you have increased cargo coming in via containers. In the past, we had a lot of brick bulk cargo coming through as well from some of the vessels, but now everything coming in is coming in via containers, and so we've had to actually stack at a much higher rate than we normally would. In the past, we would have stacked at 3 high. Now we go to 4, and in rare cases, we may go to 5. But clearly, as we are moving out the empties, it's becoming easier.
Question for the Controller of Inland Revenue, because he did say something, if I understood correctly, Mr. Williams, you said that basically no one can force a retailer to sell at a particular rate, but I was wondering what does that mean in terms of the cabinet decision? Does that mean cabinet decision is of no real significance if people can then go ahead in spite of it and sell at whatever rate they choose? I found that kind of, I don't know, perhaps you can clarify.
Okay, when I mentioned that no one can force, in fact, we are all aware that there is nothing like a really price control. And when you have these opportunities, concessions are granted. There are people who really try to take advantage of that and see how much they can benefit from the consumers. Okay, so what we are urging is that really you pay no import duties at the port of entry, and that's an expense you would have had on a usual basis. Your cost of sales, that would increase your cost of sales. So seeing that you pay no import duties, obviously, as the Comptroller of Customs mentioned, I mean, there are certain items that has a high level of duty. He mentioned things like grapes. So, I mean, when you do not pay duty on those things and you want to sell it at the same price, I mean, that's just going to be very ridiculous. So what we are informing is that, and making them people aware that, yes, there is no price control to say, well, we can tell somebody that to sell at a particular price. We cannot do that. However, we just informing them and advising them that they should not just go ahead and buy things at rates that are just exorbitant. Okay, so that's what I mean. I know the concessions granted are for the benefit of everybody, even though you do not import directly. But as a consumer, you buy in from someone who imports, then you should not have to pay the same price for an item when you got relief for a number of taxes and duties. So we're just advising people that, yes, no import duties. They have to pay the VAT when VAT is a consumer tax. Yes, they have to pay it when they buy from the retailer, but they shouldn't really pay exorbitant prices or even higher prices for any item that has been granted concessions.
My question to you, Mr. Williams, is knowing the situation of the situation right now and the fact that many of the business owners might not put down on the prices. As a consumer, when we go to the stores, we want something. Sometimes we don't have a choice but to buy it at the prices. Shouldn't price control be something that is at least implemented at these times so that to try to help the consumers?
Yes, I mean, we all, as consumers and customers of business places, wish that there was a specific price that certain items could be sold at. But I don't think there's anyone really responsible for that, and the Inland Revenue itself cannot, or we don't have any authority to tell someone how they should sell something. But we only hope that the people who are out there selling can be considerate and not take advantage of the consumers. Okay, we do not want anyone to charge VAT when they are not registered. And we know it has happened in the past where people who are not registered charge people a VAT when they go to buy. So it's we, the consumers, when we go to buy, let's ensure that, people do not take advantage of us. And you say, there are people who make choices. And many of us believe we cannot do without certain items. And I think that, we need to make a sacrifice. If we figure something is too expensive, we don't buy it. We have to make a sacrifice. But when we go ahead and we purchase it, we're going to keep raising the prices or keeping it at a certain level. Okay, so let's just try to, there's a competition out there, and there are other sellers who are willing to sell at a lower price. Let's try to buy from the people who are very reasonable with us. Okay?
Ask the Comptroller of Customs just to clarify something for me, please. He did say, if I remember correctly, that the whole idea of personal stuff or personal barrels going to relief is, the way he put it, was total rubbish. Is that how you put it? I met someone who actually told me that she received a package which is supposed to be relief, but the package is labeled with someone's name on it. As a matter of fact, she knew who I'm not sure what happens. Perhaps the moral thing kicks in at that point. You'd probably decide, look, somebody's name is on it, you probably return it or something. I'm not sure what would obtain there. But are you saying to us that you're not aware that this has ever happened, or it's not happening at all? Or what are you really, really saying?
Okay, good morning again. When I made mention with reference to relief goods, I think there was a story going about where persons were saying that when they receive barrels, that half would come for them and the next half would go to the relief. So I categorically denied that those things were happening. In respect to the things that you mentioned, I am none the wiser. I'm talking in terms of the customs aspect of things, that due diligence is being done by customs officers, that if you come and clear what you have, that is what you will get. And the procedures now, as Mr. Badwell indicated, that all consignments, you have to go to the agents to get your normal delivery, and the process carries on. Okay, I want to take the opportunity at this time, I think I forgot, and Mr. Williams made it come to my head, that I would like to thank all my counterparts again from the region, Caribbean Customs, who responded quickly. We've given relief to our customs officers in Dominica, and I must commend Antigua, Montserrat, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, and Grenada for their coming to our aid in donating relief items to us.